Definitely easier. I mean, it's like a good. I think like learning from wins is like it's something. If you're winning a lot of games in a row on the ladder, it's like, well, and you're not doing any critical thinking, it's like you should be like, oh, I should still be like looking, doing a quick
I guess.
rewind, checking my benchmarks, right? Like, so when you're winning, you should still be doing a quick rewind. You should still have that like mindset of
That's fair.
improving, but
All
no,
right.
you don't need to be poring over those replays for every excruciating
Yeah.
detail, like when you're on a losing streak, right?
It's also been a lot of Terran versus Terran. That's been easy because I can get through them really fast with cheese. So
Mm.
it's actually probably the biggest thing that I ever did to like improve my Terran versus Terran was go through the Book of Filth and then do like some proxies.
It's kind of nice because so much of early TVT is about just like technical unit micro interactions and like when you've got an advantage, right, and stuff. And obviously
Oh
playing
yeah.
more aggressive, janky styles, kind of, well, that's the whole point. But that's also how you defend in early game
Oh
TVT,
yeah.
right? It's like, well, oh, okay, I know like that this I actually should just pull my SCVs and drop an auto turret and kill this little mini tank push before it sieges, and it's a really easy hold. Where if I let it get
But if you
sieged
mess
up,
it up
it's
just a little,
crazy.
then it's like game over.
Exactly,
I think
right?
that's like the most annoying thing for Terran versus Terran. Is like if I feel just a little bit out of control, then this one stupid thing is gonna kill me. And but even if I'm like, let's say, I guess ego wise the better player, like I can just die to a doom drop. I can just die to a random tank push. I can die to just about anything if I mess it up just a little. It's so much easier just to like cheese and like immediately shove my macro and micro in the face of the enemy.
Oh yeah. My people are like, oh, like for a while now, I've just been pretty chilled with my Terran. I haven't really been trying to improve, but people are like, oh, you're not GM anymore. And I'm like, oh, if I cheese, like I'm like 5,800 MMR, right? Like like I just there I feel like I don't get better and I don't really get any perspective on proper Terran play because it's
That's fair.
literally all just
Yeah.
dirty gambles, and it's like I want to be able to teach. I want to also be able to cast games and actually have some idea of what a position means. Whereas I'm like,
Hmm.
if all I'm thinking about is like how to get the next proxy lib or the next, I like that corner barracks strategy you talked about. I'm like, oh yeah, that shit
Oh,
never
the
like,
TvP.
yeah, people never do that, but like I
That's so
love builds like
stupid.
that because they're so good, man. Like I do that one against Zerg where I do that with two barracks for Marauder
Yeah, actually, that's
Hellion.
actually so brave. I feel so scared if I do that against Zerg because I feel like Lynx are just gonna find it and then kill it all.
Yeah, I mean
But
if,
that's
if
actually
they
so
if they do,
brave.
you're fucked. But
But even with Protoss,
yeah.
I guess if they find it, you're pretty screwed. But
It's
it's
just
actually
hilarious though, right?
bad.
10,
It's
10
so bad.
Marauders.
Yeah, it's like the nature of how it works. It's like nobody would ever be stupid enough to do that, and so when it happens, you don't know what to do, and then it's strong as well, and even then you just go, all right, let's get to practicing.
Yeah, so I mean, since you sent me this TVZ replay first, I figure let's just so that the very first one you versus Snake
Yeah,
on Thingo,
the
let's
other
just
one is also
start there.
versus Snake. He took my ladder points like twice in a row. I just ran
Yeah.
into a brick wall with him.
Well, he's a very strange player. He used to be ranked a lot higher as well.
Oh really?
Yeah, someone used to think he was map hacking just because he just plays like a weirdo. So he's got a
It
different
was a weird
approach
style. It
to
was
the
a weird
game.
style.
Man,
Alright, so if I remember, I skimmed over this replay. I thought I was ahead for a lot of it, and I must have just messed up a bunch of pushes or something. But he just had like this roach Baneling army, he just ran me over and got ultras. I remember even being on like my four bases, and it was still kind of messy. The game just felt messy, and I felt like I felt a lot more ahead than I really probably was. Because
yeah,
I've got like my 3-3, like you can even kind of see on the production, like when I look at it, I've got my 3-3 finishing. His 2-2 isn't even done yet. Like I feel like I can just kill him, but I don't. Also, he makes mutas, which is annoying to me, because I always find mutas are really annoying. But he doesn't ever like do mutalisk things with them, like run around and try and kill my add-ons. So that was a bit
yeah,
weird.
yeah. So I mean, he does end up doing a giant run by in this game. I mean, definitely, I would look at it and say, cool, your upgrades are obviously way, way better, which is awesome. But at the same time, Banelings don't care about upgrades. So it's,
Bailings don't care about your teammates.
yeah, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think the crucial point in this replay was honestly just the moment he backstabbed you. You raised your depots, you changed your rally points to the high ground. That's exactly correct. Now, I guess a little bonus thing there is if you had ran your SCVs from your third to the right, maybe we would have got some away.
Oh,
Not the
I
biggest
guess
deal
yeah.
though. Doesn't you did try to do it just a little late, but I think at the same time, and it's kind of hard because your army's not that far away from his army, but like I would have tried to unsiege and stim straight into the natural and third with everything there.
I guess that's one way you can handle run bys. Like you can just do a bigger run by with your push.
Yeah. I mean, if they
it's
commit
scary
their
to do
whole, this isn't really a run by. This is like a base trade. What he's doing, right? That's his whole army.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's not just a run by. That's all his roaches, all his lings, all his mutas. Like he literally has bypassed you with his whole army. And I would expect him to go for your main and natural. Now, obviously, when you make that decision, you've got to keep your eyes pinned to the minimap at the same time as going, let's make sure I don't run into another 20 banelings that he's morphed in his natural, right? You know, you got to scan ahead as you stim in there. But then if you see his army come back, you're very quickly going to have to rejoin your tanks and your bio. And I do think, obviously, that the problem there is you can end up deep on creep, which kind of sucks. But if you're pre-spread, especially 2-2 versus 1-1...
it should be fine. Well, the other thing, like you said, like with the upgrades, and if his whole army's across the map, there's no way he has enough Banes at home to properly deal with a tank push.
Exactly. And, yeah, so and then you microed the engagement a little poorly. So like, 2 tanks got caught out.
Oh yeah, getting caught in the middle there was.
Yeah, so like
I'm actually watching a different point in the game.
11:20. Go to 11 minutes 20. Sorry.
Okay.
And normally I'd be able to use the stream, but we're on 2-minute delay because
if you're able to share screen for the thing, that might work as well.
It's a little laggy and stuff. It's fine. I can just tell you when. But at 11:20, so yeah, I just feel like as soon as we saw that come, raise the depots, you know, protect the production like you did, it should have just been go for the all-in kind of, like, get in there, right?
I mean, I'm already in position to start killing more stuff.
Say what, sorry?
But if I look at, like, where my army is, I could also just move into, like, like you said, I could just move into his natural. It should be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you could have definitely done that. And then, unfortunately, 2 tanks get caught out at the back, right? Which is a shame. But also, if we look at the micro of your bio in the engage, so you stim your whole army back in panic, which means you've stimmed well before the fight really starts.
Yeah.
And then, oh, one sec.
My hands are shaking, but I'm still shooting. I'm still getting the headshots. It's like boom, headshot, boom, headshot, boom.
Sorry, I've just got alert sounds coming through like crazy, and the mute button isn't working. There we go. Because I've got double, because I got it coming through my PC and then here as well. Awesome. That's better. Thank you, Zombie Grub. Much love for the raid. 69 viewers as well. Nice memes. So with the fight, yeah, those 2 tanks being behind. So this was like basically, I think it was the trifecta. It was, we probably could have got in and killed 30 more drones, or more, to the point where when this all settles, you've still got 3 CCEs and 44 SCVs, right? So if you've like really fucked his economy up, or if you've killed both these hatches or something, like his follow-up's not good. But then also because you didn't move in as quickly, those tanks were further behind.
Yeah, and now my 3 other tanks get picked off, or like they kind of get distracted.
Well, and look at the moment where your stim runs out. So you remember you've used a stim before the fight really begins, which is another 10 hit points off all your Marines, 20 hit points off all your Marauders.
Yeah, I think that they also got off stim and they lost the movement. So like even if they were low on hit points, they got caught by the Banes as well.
Yeah, and that's specifically because the tanks were far away, right? So it's because your army was so disjointed there. So you saw him come back. You're like, oh shit, get back to protect the tanks. And then you ended up not saving them really. So you ended up stimming really far in front of the 3 tanks you still had left. And then it runs out mid-fight, where you've got to be aware of that, of course. It's hard in a chaotic situation like this, where you should have pressed stim, even if it was 5 seconds early there. You know, normally it's like, be afraid of stimming again, but when you've got speed beans running at you, it's like, no, let's just like start the new stim a few seconds early to make sure that doesn't happen. Because, I mean, that's all happened to every one of us, where you just don't expect stim to run out, and then it stops, and you're like, oh.
If I look at my camera, I think I see what you mean with like the stim. Oh, I know why I messed it up now. I was trying to move the Marauders to the front, so I was like control clicking them at the same time the stim ran out. But yeah, it wouldn't have been a problem, like you said, if the stim was managed a bit more and like the tanks were protected. Because like, when I'm looking at like when the fight is all going wrong, there's like 1 tank and a bunch of Marines. But if there's like another 2 tanks or another 3 tanks, there's no way that all these Banes are still alive because there's only 10 of them. Yeah,
and now I also want to, especially the MMR you're at is a really weird point. You're still about 4,800, right?
4,800 around there, yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to play a lot of players who are really fucking good at some things and really fucking ridiculously bad at other things. And I play the same players as you. I've played you on the ladder as well. There are Zerg players who will be so good for a point here with the Mutiling Bane, and they will never make a hive. And it's just something to be aware of is like the mobility and scariness, especially if you see someone open speed roaches and then go Ling Bane Muta. This is awkward.
Oh yeah, it happens
right?
all the time. Every
His
time I see roaches, it's always Muta.
Yeah, the thing is, guess what? His upgrades are crazy fucking late, and he has to kind of play this style. So, have you watched any Bly games in the recent months of his ZVT where he goes?
I don't really much Bly that much. I heard about him. Like I know that a lot of people like him, but I'm not entirely certain why people like him.
Well, he's just a hyper aggressive but very creative Zerg player. He has a really
he's like Zerg parting, I guess.
Kind of. Yeah, not obviously not as execution, godlike as parting, but like some people say he's a cheesy fucker, right? Because he will like proxy hatch or something.
Oh, like no regret, I guess.
You watch him in ZVP and like, he does the proxy hatch and then like someone stops it and then he just does it again and he does like a different follow-up because he has like 27 different branches because he's like, oh, you're going to counter it with that, and he knows exactly how to beat them. Like he knows so many of these branches. We see him often play is like everyone opens Banshee against him because they're, Roach attacks, Nidus attacks, all these early Ravager attacks. But he's often behind in supply and upgrades and economy, but like the whole game against Terran, he still beats them, often in a similar sort of situation. It's always, he tries to force the Terran all in. And I'm using this as an example because this is kind of what happens whenever I see like him beat Euthermal, for instance, where Euthermal's like blocking him at every turn, he's up in upgrades, he's up in supply. And at some point with all the run bys and shit, Bly will trick him out of position to the point where he can isolate the tanks or get rid of them in a fight.
Okay.
And then it's just like somehow Euthermal, because he's taking too much economic damage, it's like, oh, I've got to push. And it's like 120 fucking 3/3 Marines on creep. And it turns out even 1/1 Speedbanes can beat that once they're on creep and they're forced all in. And you're like, oh, this, like, you shouldn't be able to, like, I would never imagine a way of winning from here. And Bly always finds a way. And the important thing is if we look at what your opponent has here, it's a good economy. It's not a great economy. 77 drones. This is not that 85 drones, right? And there's no infestation started.
A bunch. Because he only has his natural, he only has his main, and he's got like the third and the base that's coming up as well. Like I think it just finishes after all the chaos happens.
Yeah, so go back to before the big trades happen, like even before the big fights, because at that point it's like
10:30.
Yeah, 10:30, 10:50. Look at it there.
It's only 4 base. Does he even have a hive?
No, he doesn't even have an infestation pit, and he's never going to. So whenever you're playing one of these guys, one of the coolest things you can do is scan that for the hive every now and then. So if you don't see a hive or an infestation pit even on the way, I find it's like, hey, he's playing Mutiling Bane Roach.
One of those players. It's one of those Bly players, we'll call them.
Yeah, well, let's just call him a Lair boy.
All right.
ZV2 on Everdream. Okay, so
Lair chat.
Yeah, especially if they've gone something that's awkward like this, right? It's like if someone's on like, oh, they're on Ling Bane, but they're also on Roach Hydra at the same time. Like anytime someone's got like a mix of shitty early game units, you're like, oh, are you ever going to go Hive Tech? Like, wait, how could I lose this game? You want to start thinking a little bit like, wait, how could I lose? Like, well, if I like overcommit on creep before I'm maxed out and I let this like kind of mid-game army of just like lots of fucking fighting units engage me, or if I let him base trade me and counter attack me now. Okay, those are some ways I could. So scan for Hive versus Muta players, basically.
Okay.
As long as no Hive started, you can be more patient, right?
All right.
So what do you want? Extra bases, right? If you wanna play from there, I mean, the thing is, like, you still don't have a fourth, so that's one of the things I was getting at here is. Look, your main's mining out. You don't have anywhere to mine from with some of your SCVs.
There is a fourth started in the main, but like it's probably a bit late. Like considering how much money you picked up.
Yeah. Oh, are you planning to take the bottom right base? Is that where you expand normally?
Yeah, I do take the bottom right. I actually hold it for the entirety for the rest of the game.
Okay.
But the main thing I have is taking the 5th base because I just get kind of like ultraed off of it.
Yeah.
It makes ultra.
Yeah. Let's focus on the earlier stages because like there's so much that can happen there. But I think the first big push is where we kind of lose the game. Like the next 6 minutes from there is like, don't really care. Because the start's the more important part. So that 4th command center is really nice that is finished. But basically having a few more spotter units out looking for run bys, being ready to deal with big, oh, he's just going around and like, you can kind of come back and corner this army.
Sensor towers and bunkers against Lair boys is probably like really OP.
Some
I think about
people
it.
like that. I'm not a big fan. I would much rather you just be like have a few more Marines on the map, because the sensor tower doesn't see them until they're in your base. Like, you know, it's not that big vision. Like if you get a sensor tower here, it sees them here. I don't know. It's like, why not just have a few Marine spotters around the map or something like that? Obviously, it kind of depends on how active they are with run bys.
I guess I place the towers a bit differently. Like I don't actually put them in my base. What I'll do is I'll put them like kind of like close to the base I want to take. So like if I look at 1105, where all the mutas are, like how they're kind of like almost at my base, that's where I put a sensor tower, and then it would kind of like see a lot farther.
I mean, that's just gonna get killed by like 5 Zerglings, though, right?
Oh yeah. If
So-
I have reinforcements, if I rally to there, then they won't. It's actually-
Why not just put some Marine
I
spotters
don't
out
know.
on the map, though? Wouldn't that just be
Yeah.
an easier way of achieving the same thing?
It is. It's a lot easier.
Obviously, if
Actually,
you're playing Widow Mines, it's very, very nice because you can just put a few spotting mines out and they spot run bys coming, and they'll
Is that like
see.
is that something that like is a good idea to like incorporate like kind of in general in plays, like use mines to spot?
If you're playing Widow Mines, yes. don't be changing your tech.
But-
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it.
Well, it's like one of those things. So mines are one of the most efficient ways of dealing with run bys and spotting them effectively over time, because then you force your opponent to bring overseers if they ever want to clear them up. Like once drilling clause is done.
Off the micro as well, because run bys are usually just like shift clicking around the map. But if you
Yeah.
make mines, they have to like dodge the mines or they have to clear the mines.
Yeah, and all you need is warning. So I mean, definitely, it's not like you just every game put 10 Widow Mines around, but it's like leaving you know, do you leave 16 Marines and 2 medevacs in your main normally? No. But if someone's running around with a big pack of mutas, yes, you do, right? You know, it's always a little reactive. So the moment you know your opponent's a bit more, you know, there's more run bys, it's that sort of game, you might put, you know, a few Widow Mines out front your bases, right? So, you know, out front your third, out front your fourth, and so on. But let's make sure we stay really focused here on the point. And the point here is, if they don't have a hive, pick our timings a little bit. Don't get me wrong, still try to push, still try to take advantage of some good positions. You know, this is some great ridges on this map where you set up your tank push around 10, 50, 11 minutes, right? But if you saw him running by, well, I mean, we could have literally split, say, like the double medevac of bio into his mineral lines to be like, oh, you're running past? Well, this is going to kill 20 drones right now. But we could just bring the rest of our army back. Siege our tanks at our rally, come back. I mean, you're gonna ruin this force if it's off creep, right? You can fight his army off creep if you've got a bit of, you know, unit siege. It's just that he catches you with your pants down. So this is something where it's like, okay, so if I was just a bit more methodically going towards the fourth, getting these tech labs up on these extra barracks, keeping some spotting units out, that's definitely something to be aware of, is just like, hey, let's not let this guy run past with his whole army. At the same time, let's not overcommit on creep, right? If you pushed a bit earlier than you did in this game and just like sieged up everything on creep against a guy who's gone literally Roachling Bane Muta, like, that's a guy who wants to fight. Say again?
His army is so garbage if he brings his army and tries to like fight me in tank positions, like there's no way.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like you've got to kind of be aware. He's probably not going to do that. If he does, great. He's given us the win. It's not going to happen. So extra bases, more upgrades.
Like high MMR, right? He's probably high MMR because he does this kind of stuff.
Say again?
This is good. He's probably high MMR because he knows not to do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a dirty player in general. He's definitely someone who's always going to play a bit different to many of the players out there. So spotting units. Just spotting units. I might just send out individual or pairs of Marines. They cost almost nothing, right? They're very cheap, and and that can be really nice. I'm just looking around. So your third base, I don't like your depots. They kind of gross me out a little bit. For me, that looks like a Baneling orgy.
They're sloppy depots for sure. They should be like more depots, kind of like lower. They shouldn't be stacked up like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like I needed supply, and it was like the closest place I could build them.
Well, it's also, if you build an extra wall, it can be great. So the wall on the right there would be nice, right? Walling off that base a little bit. But I also sometimes even like to build another semi-wall. So if you look out front your natural, so just above the wall you've got on your natural, Sometimes I might build a secondary wall there of just like depot. You
Oh,
know,
close to, like the base kind of helps secure it with tanks.
yeah. Sometimes it's really nice, or even where his army runs up at 11 minutes up that tiny narrow choke. Maybe I'll put 2 or 3 depots there that I can raise and lower. Like,
Yeah,
it just,
all right.
it's just
Spots on all them that you can do. It's more
yeah.
efficient. Depots.
Exactly, and especially against these guys, they want to bust you. So it's the same mindset we're talking about. We're going to talk about mech versus Protoss, right? So much of that is just don't let those zealots get on top of your fucking tanks, right? And that's not easy, but a lot of it is walling off. Innovation Trap, the TSL lower bracket finals. You know, there was a game where Innovation just left the narrow choke point wide open the whole time, and I was like, man, I really feel like he should just wall that off. With just 3 depots.
Trap run in with like 30 charge lots and.
Well, the bigger problem is that a prism kept flying through from that angle, and like the very first prism just flew right into his main and warped in 10 zealots after unloading forward, and that was the big thing. And then Trap kept forcing his way through that choke with Zealot Archon after that. When even though Inno was siege behind it and was like, you're not going to come through that tiny choke, you idiot. And he's like, well, Zealots and Archons don't actually really take a lot of damage from tanks, right? Tanks are the ultimate defensive unit. But anyway, let's not talk too much about TvP. But it's the same mindset here. This guy wants to fight. Wall offs can help you out. So I wouldn't go hard on bunkers and sensor towers necessarily. You know what? A couple bunkers is not a bad idea. You know, maybe like 2 bunkers out front.
If it's a run by style, then maybe bunkers, but.
Definitely if they're running by, yeah.
Counterattack, bunkers aren't going to do anything. They're just going to like blow up.
I mean, they give you a little bit, right? If you've got your tank siege behind it or anything, and likewise, if you see it coming, it's going to help, right? It's going to help. Like, there's that crazy thing where they're coming in with this sort of attack, and imagine if you've got both these tank siege, so 11 minutes 10, or even just slightly before there, 11:05, whatever, when he's running up that ramp, you know, imagine you got your 2 tanks sieged, and you've got like 2 bunkers here, which you stim.
Slows it down a lot.
And a few more Marines. And imagine if your army was coming back as well, because you spotted this coming. So as he's running up that ramp, 40 Marines or 30 Marines stim in from the right-hand side, and they're like aggroing half of his army. So it like starts going back the other way. The other half's already getting shelled. You've got mutas engaging into stim bunkers, which does not go well for mutas, mate. And you do stim your bunkers, right? You remember to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Good, just checking. Every now and then there's like a high-level Terran player who's like, you can do that? And I'm like, wow.
Oh, okay, really? People don't know that?
I mean, like, I say high-level, I mean, like, you know, like Masters 3, Masters 2, occasionally a low GM. Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think you could do that in like Brood War.
No, you couldn't. I remember playing Brood War, and like I would play Terran, and it was like the most annoying thing to me because I'd have to unload my bunkers, stim the Marines, and put them back in the bunker. And in StarCraft 2, it's like, oh, I can just stim them in the bunker.
I could stim the bunker, yeah. You just hit it 4 times. You're like, does that make him shoot faster?
The bunkers are like
the bunkers, the hit points. Hells yeah.
Wouldn't that be so OP if like, the stim could take hit points from the bunker?
Well, that would just be awesome, yeah. So in this game, I think that's kind of the key. So you kept going tanks specifically because he went roaches, right? Would you have swapped to mines if it was like straight mutiling Bane?
If it's straight mutiling Bane, I always go mines, yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
Like the second factory builds a reactor, and I get drilling claws on the first one. I just get like the reactor tank, or sorry, I get the tech lab for the first 2 tanks stylistically because I just do at this point.
Yeah.
I think that I learned my TBZ in like the Ling Bane Hydra era, where like you just always went tanks, and at this point like it's just kind of like muscle memory to build tanks.
Yeah. I like your Banshee usage, and that you do a very set and forget Banshee in the main, by the way. That's like a nice way of doing it, you know. Just hold position out of the spore range, isolate the gas workers. The important thing with the Banshee is to keep it alive. You only go a single Banshee because you've gone that Viking first. So I would just say be aware of the meta. I'm just kind of glimpsing through your early game. I'm sure you love the Viking because there's a lot of players who just mass overlords all over the map, right? Right at the start.
I also go into battle cruisers. So like if I were playing against somebody twice, I usually go to battle cruiser, and I always build a Viking with a battle cruiser. So this is a nice way for me to like mask what I'm doing with my Star Fort.
Beautiful. That's a good way. Good kind of nice little mind game there. And BC is always nice. And that's still into bio, right? Off the BC.
Well, the second replay I have versus this guy is when I go into BCs because I played against him twice, and I actually lost really hard because I think that he just went like big roach corruptor and just smashed my third over and over and over. I'm not entirely certain what to do to stop that. I think that's I'm actually not entirely certain what to do. So with this game, we've got, yeah, hold on, I left some notes. So spotting Marines versus the Lair boys. We've got more efficient depots, and we've got scanning the hive consistently. And so
Oh
once
yeah.
we've identified-
Sorry, you don't have your document open, by the way. So normally.
Oh, I don't.
Just, there you go. Yeah, you've got a separate one. There you go. All right. So you should have editing rights of that. I linked it to you on Discord. Just make sure. So
I'm opening it up.
These are your own notes, and add whatever to them as well. But be more patient, methodical, extra bases, more upgrades. Spotting units. But yeah, just keeping in mind that Lair boys, yeah, definitely are going to want to fight. There's a thing as well. Like, I'm sure you've had games where you're way behind against a Zerg, and you go, oh, fuck, I better just push now with an all-in, or I'm dead. Ultra's going to be here.
Just try and camp with planetary fortresses, actually.
Well, that's the right call. And, I mean, even more so, it's kind of, if you see that they're not going hive, like, even if you're way behind, you can be like, ooh, okay, like, camp for a bit, and, like, I still might be able to win with the mid-game army of, like, Biotank. Even though it's hitting at what feels like it should be too late, you're like, oh, I can actually do, like, a really slow methodical push and just try to, like, micro this out.
Like Marine Tank is just a really good comp at any point. Like, it gets weaker in the late game, but only because other units are better, not because, like, the comp is actually bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ultras and Bane count can do well. It's more the creep across the whole map that ends up being the scary thing.
Yeah. That's when you want to, like, have stuff to bypass that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can take away from this?
So, I mean, I think that looked okay. In general, it's a bit of a soft opening in that you are going Banshee. So what I mean by that is, like, the BC opening, you're probably going to be hitting a bit harder, I would imagine, and that sort of thing. Just something to be aware of in TVZ as well is, like, just like, especially since you seem like someone who likes to counter the player and stuff and that sort of thing, like, sometimes the 4 Hellion dive is the most powerful thing in the world, right? Like, I've swapped back to doing just burn drone style, and I just go gas first Hellions every game. And a lot of games I win with my Reaper and Hellions, like, essentially.
No way.
Because people just aren't used to gas first Hellions, and I just micro my heart out. And there's a lot of players who are greedy fuckers, right? And then the ones who aren't are building a crazy number of Zerglings. Because I'm so aggressive, I'm becoming aware of that and going, well, that's fine. Like, you built a shitload of Zerglings, those aren't good. So in this game, for instance, you've seen a spine crawler in the early game. So if I see a spine crawler, I'm instantly going to go, yeah, all right, I'm just going to run past it with 4 or 6 Hellions. Because if I see someone build a spine, and this is obviously not 100%, but I'm going, well, you just don't have defense. If you're building spines, like, that's some dumb shit. Like, I look at that, and that's just a tell that he doesn't actually have mobile defense, right? And it's going to get 1, at most 2 hits when you run past it.
Oh yeah, like, spines are so easy to run past.
So if we look at this opening, like I said, Snake's a weirdo, plays strange openings. Hats off to him. I love when people play their own openings. This one is predicated on the Terrans not being like, oh, I'm just going to run past your queens and spines. Like, the whole reason Queen Zergling defense works is the queen is the anchor. It beats Hellions head on. Yeah, they spread out.
Spine, really.
Yeah, the spine is just a super queen. So it's like, what the fuck have we got here? We've just got queens and spines.
It's also, like, not in the wall. Like, I think this would be smarter for Snake if he, like, brings up the spine and walls it up with queens, because then I can't do a run by. I mean, then I can isolate the third, but still.
Yeah, even then it's, like, still so fucking trash if you can't drone your third early. But, like, yeah, you could have just won the game. If you ran into his natural and his main with your Hellions, you would have killed so many. Many.
Looking at, like, 450. For units, he has no units other than 5 queens.
Yeah, and timing's important. So the thing is, your 4 Hellions were there at 410 outside his base, 415.
Oh yeah, he didn't have any units. No,
yeah,
he definitely didn't have any units.
As soon as so there's multiple timings, right? There's pairing your Hellions up with the Banshee hitting, especially if you go Banshee first. That's going to be, like, more viable. Because you go Viking first, you really don't get this as a great timing. But it's like, if you've been poking and prodding but your Hellions are still alive, that's always the time where it's worth doing a little dart in with the Hellions, right? When that Banshee's distracting. But other than that, it's like the moment you hit 4 Hellions, super fucking OP. What about 2 Hellions? 2 Hellions and a Reaper. Well, that's not enough to one-shot drones. Is that good? It's fucking amazing. Now, watch, like, Cure versus Lambo and this sort of stuff recently. All the top Zergs in Europe delaying their Zergling speed. and you look at the Terrans, the Korean I just call them Terrans, Korean Terrans, and they're just like, oh, okay, there's a window. Like those first two Hellions just go straight in, and they're like, we got 20 seconds till Ling Speed's done, let's fucking go. And these two Hellions are running circles around, roasting drones, having a party, just because they've identified that window within the meta of the Zergs. The Zergs are like, wow, they never dive until 4 Hellions, so I don't need Ling Speed straight away. I'm gonna get a few more drones, get my third hatch down, then I'll have Ling Speed just in time. And that's a lot of how Zerg plays, is like trying to basically just have the thing ready at the last possible second, right? So, yeah. So, yeah. If you see... So, no Ling Speed. So, signs... So, just writing down a few signs. Signs to dive the Hellions. And sometimes I just do this, just to randomize it. I just, like, will mix in random Hellion dives. Like 4GG used to always dive with the 6 Hellions in Heart of the Swarm every game. We called it doing a 4GG. Didn't matter what the Zerg did, you would always dive with those 6 Hellions. And like we would kind of laugh at it because you'd know it's coming, so like you should get ahead. But he was so good with the micro, you'd still fuck it up sometimes. Like let him roast your Zerglings and get in, and you'd be like, "God, I'm such an idiot. I should be ahead versus 4GG every game because he does this." And for him, he was like, "No, I will always like either force a lot of units or kill a lot of drones. It's always going to be that." And that was his way of doing it. But I like to just randomize it. So signs to dive the Hellions, no Ling Speed. Spines, obviously that's a big sign. No Lings, you know. Obviously they can be very good at just hiding the Lings. And the thing is, sometimes I will dive with the Hellions. And obviously if you see the Lings, you just want to run back if there's too many, right? You know, you run back and then you try and focus fire the Lings when they're clumped up is one of the biggest things. That's why you'll sometimes see you bait the Lings and you volley them and then you turn around and you keep driving in because you're like, hey, I just killed all your Zerglings in one shot. So there's that back and forth because every time they chase you, they clump. So it's like you pull back, let them clump, burn them, and then continue back into the drone line. Sorry, you cut out a little bit there. What was that?
Oh, it's like the micro thing where like if the Zerg's paying attention, they'll like split off the Lings, but if they split off the Lings, then they have less. Then they're not like attacking anything, or it's a bit harder to get surrounds. So
yeah, they want to kind of pull back with all of the Zerglings. In fact, if they're doing it properly, like they actually just want to pull them all back and respread them, right? But if they're doing it properly, the queens are damaging you the whole time, right? If there's no queens out, they can't do anything. So this is how I beat players, because there's a lot of Zergs who don't build enough queens. They rely on Zerglings for defense. And I was talking about, you know, how I just kill people with Hellions. It's because I'm like, oh, there's like only 2 queens out here. Like Reaper Grenade, focus the one with energy. And then every time the Lings run forward, I just like pull back and focus them. And then I just keep killing the queens. And if they don't have the queens able to beat the Hellions, then you can force Hellion versus Zergling trades. Just run on creep. They have to come forward, shoot them, turn around, run back. Run forward, shoot them, and I force an obscene amount of Zerglings out, you know. I might not be killing drones, but they definitely aren't droning for a long time. Now, that's obviously more of a focus of that non-stop Hellion gas-first mech style, where I don't mind it. But it's just something to keep in mind, because you're doing a Hellion Banshee opening, and this is great.
You have to be looking for, like, just little cheeky ways you can get damage.
Yeah, well, it's just don't be complacent. Because you will play greedy fuckers out there, right? And you're going to have to do something to slow those guys down. So your Banshee, for instance, so good if you keep that alive. And personally, what I would have really liked to see, let's actually see what you do with your Banshee in this replay. Because I don't think you repair it straight away. You kind of keep it to defend run-bys, which is not bad. I don't think you needed to worry about that. I would have loved you to just leave that just off the edge of creep. And just imagine it's like an 8 Marine drop or something. It's like, every now and then you got some spare APM, you just kill the tumors, and often you can put it in a position where it will automatically kill those tumors when they spread. So you're not actually in creep vision, but they will spread tumors in front of it, and it's like auto kills the tumors, and then you just pull it back slightly. And obviously, like,
I don't do that much. I should start doing that.
Yeah, after you do it each time, you can rotate it to a new angle as well. So what you can do is you can shift click it, because the queens will come there, right? But the queens aren't going to be covering every angle. So okay, I cleared the creep here one wave. I killed the active tumors. Now let's queue it to go around to the other side. And that way it gives you this fantastic pressure, and it really it disrupts the Zerg's rhythm, which is very powerful. Super powerful.
Yes. Yeah, you gotta, it's like really good. All right, that's a good point.
Okay, cool.
I actually want to see if I saw the roach. Maybe the reason I kept the Banshee back was because I saw Roach Warren. That's something that I will do if I see a Roach Warren. I'll keep the Banshee at home because I'm worried about like a Roach attack.
Yeah, I think in this game, because you had your tank on the high ground so early, it like wasn't super important when you did it. I think you could have just put it on the edge of creep, and then it would also sit like if you put it in the middle creep, it's going to see an attack coming as well, right? So yeah, so just think of it that way. You're like, oh, okay, I want this Banshee for safety. If there's big mid-game roach attacks, sure, absolutely, like massive power tool, right? If they go pure roach Ravager, and you're like, oh, okay, one Banshee's just gonna stop this from just biling away at my third from just out of tank range and all that sort of stuff.
Probably like a autopilot thing then. So I can like find that then with Banshee. All right, that's a good point. Do you think
Should we move on to another replay now, or
go to the BC game because
yeah,
my BC mech is not as like practiced as my Terran. Like I've only picked it up in like the last few months, whereas like I've always been playing Bio. So the more like little things I can do to refine build orders here and there with BC mech, the better.
is the BC one on this patch or?
No, it's on the last patch too.
No worries.
But I think like if I recall correctly, it's a pretty like simple game. Like it's not that complicated. Like I just go for a BC. I can't remember how the BC went, but he just kind of walks across the map with a bunch of roaches and then kills me.
No
or like
worries.
he puts me from behind and then he just keeps like
Yeah.
I'm never able to secure a third. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, those Roach Corruptor attacks are tough. They were very popular at pro play for a little while until...
Is that like the exact reason why people don't really go BCs anymore?
No, people started just smacking those attacks down at pro level from what I saw. We still do see it mixed in there. We've been seeing a lot of 2-base muta for one thing. So there's a lot of people going 2-base muta. If you look at the Sue vs Innovation TSL Grand Finals, it's either 2-base muta or he goes 3-hatch, but he goes straight for Spire or for a quick Lair. So Sol has been doing that for a long time as well anyway. So there's just like a lot of quick Spire plays where it feels like players are kind of... The build orders have almost been shifted by the BC meta. You'd need to talk to pros because there's so much minutia that goes on in a week of ladder and online tournaments where their meta skips 3 beats that we don't even see.
The ladder feels so different sometimes. Like every time there's a pro tournament, I can tell the ladder, okay, the ladder's going to be really weird for a bit.
Oh, yeah. Can I just do a couple of quick shout outs to the chat? Sorry, very quickly. We just had a few raids and stuff. So just thanks to Chicken Man and Calbex. Big thank you, everybody. And Peter Enigma for the sub. Thanks, guys. Much love. I appreciate it. So apparently my stream's still hosting Warty.
Oh.
Which obviously is hats off to Twitch. Let me just double check. I think it's just on certain people's things. It should be working fine. Yeah, it's all good.
Technology.
It's just certain people's Twitch is screwed up. No worries. Awesome, man. All right. Yeah. So let's fast forward through this replay and take a look. See. So okay. So once again, we might just see like that if we see like that spine opening. I mean, if he does that on this map, that's fucking absolutely bonkers. No, he's gonna go link speed. He's gonna go super fucking fast Lair. Yeah. So he's going 2-base muta.
This is a 2-base muta.
Yeah, so you're up against a 2-base muta and you're going BC. That's all. It's just not a good situation. The BC just... It's not the worst. The BC just wants to not die.
And then the mutas can either chase it down if it gets low, and then he goes corruptors very easily. Yeah, 2-base mutas are rougher to see.
I think this is totally playable for you, by the way. But I just think if we see his 2-base, there's no reason to go BC. Because if it's a Nidus Queen Roach, BC doesn't really necessarily stop that. Like, they can actually pop out enough to deal with it. Also, you are going multiple BCs with Yamato. Now, you can do that, but, yeah, basically...
Don't do that if you want to be, like, not at a big disadvantage. All right.
No, it's just... I'm just thinking about it in a more standard situation. Imagine you're playing a real typical Zerg. It's okay. You can do that against Bio. It's just it's a preference choice. I'm not familiar with it. Like, if I go BC versus Bio, into Bio, it's always like a single BC, no Yamato, all about the distraction with the Hellion BC, and like straight into Bio, because I want to get into that Bio. Now, you're actually going mech. Is that a reaction to the mutas, or is this like just what you're...
BC, it's kind of like not great, but as a player, I use the BC as a crutch to get into mech because I find that if I just go straight mech, my units get run over. But if I have battle cruisers, it's a lot easier to hold pushes.
You seem like a guy who plays like 57 different styles. You have a lot of different builds, which is not bad. Terran's a build order race, but yeah, is this something you like?
It also goes into like late game plan. So like what I want to do with mech is I want to go battle mech, and then I'll have battle cruisers on run by. So like I'll go up to like 6 BCs, and I'll just like shift queue them through the enemy's like main base, and eventually they'll get like really upset with me, and they'll build like a million turrets or something. And then I run the BCs other places while I have the battle mech trying to snipe hatcheries. So I just play like a very around the map, kill your stuff kind of army, and then eventually I get into tanks, and then I just tank push them and kill them.
Right.
That's like how I play mech, I guess.
As long as you just pulled SCVs over, you were totally fine in this game. Go to 8 minutes. I mean, it was weird that you went so many Widow mines. I'm not the biggest fan of quite so many mines, but obviously it was your way of helping stop the gap against the mutas after losing your first BC. If you simply pulled more SCVs to repair that red hit point BC at 8:30, like quicker, and pulled that out front, got you guys back to mining, kept SCVing, kept mills. The other thing is, why aren't you building a siege tank?
It's a very good question.
I mean, that's your default thing. Yeah, 2 siege tanks makes a massive difference. So if someone's playing Roach Corruptor, they want to bust you. And if you have 2 siege tanks already out on like the high grounds, the Roach Corruptor player is just like, well, fuck.
Yeah. Like if there's what am I saying? Yeah, if there's like a tank kind of like on like there's 2 edges that you can really abuse.
Yeah, one on the natural, one on the main, right?
Yeah. If you get like those 2 spots, it's like it's so good. It's so OP.
Yeah, and they should never be able to kill your BCs, by the way. So one of the reasons I stopped doing this build is Terrans realized 30 SCVs can simultaneously repair a BC.
Oh,
and because they're so fat. They're so fat, yeah. So like literally the amount of corruptors they need is insane to actually take them down. So often the BCs kind of...
The game is kind of botched.
Yeah, so I mean there's just a few very simple reactions here, right? It's how do we play safer versus mech? Well, versus attacks. It's like, well, if they're going corruptors in general, build a few tanks for safety, right? Obviously, the Cyclones are nice because you need some mobile anti-air other than the BCs, but mass repair means the BCs are always fine. People overestimate the ability. Those corruptors can fight you on the map. They can't fight you at home. You just mass repair, you'll be right.
Yeah, I don't see. Mass repair should definitely be able to hold that. All right, so...
Yeah, if they want to kill your BC through mass repair, they need about 16 corruptors focus firing. And with how quickly they're going to die to BCs and turrets, like that's not viable. 16 corruptors, their ground army is going to be trash. So always tanks versus aggression, right? Even just 2 to 4 tanks changes everything, right? Mass repair BCs even in middle of fight, right? Now, obviously, if they have enough Banes, they can clear those, right? They can kill your SCVs. You can't mass repair. But that means they need Banes underneath the BCs and Roach Ravager to overwhelm the tanks and get rid of the Cyclones and enough Corruptors to beat the BCs. And suddenly you realize you're forcing them to basically get this really complicated army. And by the time they push, you're at 180 supply of mech.
Like, does he even have a Bane Nest? I don't think he has a Bane Nest.
No.
There's no way he has money for like 20 Banelings either. Like, even if you had the Bane Nest.
Well, yeah. If you've got 2 tanks, they're not going to hit anything anyway. You should be able to just pull back and micro and stuff. So, yeah, you absolutely could have stabilized here. But remember, this also all comes off a bad opening. So, you see, verse 2 base, I would never play mech in general. Verse 2 base, I would just play a safety tank and the most conservative, 3 racks, 3 CC, double eBay bio into bio tank. Because if I get a tank, I know I can defend a Nidus Worm Roach attack. And then if I go, just get some bio up and some medevacs and then some turrets and move out to take my third, be very careful and methodical with my tanks in case he does like a Ling Bane mutabust or something. What's he going to do? Nothing he can do, right? So for me, when I'm up against the 2-base Zerg, I'm not even worried about attacking. I might still try and scout with my Hellions, with my Reaper, do a scan, run a Libin. Maybe I get some of those early units, but I'm not committing to something big like a BC. If that was initially my plan, it's like, oh, no, he's on 2-base. Let's just fucking change the plan. And, if you want, you could mix some more aggression in, right? Some people like to hit a really fast, hard, dedicated Hellbat timing against a 2-base player or something. Because 2-base players tend to just be like taking all 4 gases and droning greedily. And sometimes you're like, I'm going to take the easy way out. Technically, if he's building roaches early enough, yeah, he could deal with this, but there's a chance I just fucking bop him while he's trying to go spire 50 drones on 2 base, right? Like a little, you know, and sometimes you can find an easy way out like that, but I think it's, for me, I like just playing like really like, let's just skip the harassment units. Like, let's stop building Hellions. So I've got 4 Hellions. That's all I need, man. Like, do I need a Viking? If I already built it, sure. But otherwise, my factory and Starport are both just building add-ons for my barracks, right? Getting that quick third ZC, the double eBay, turtling up, moving out to take the third. And I think that's a really an easier way of playing against a 2-base opponent.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So this replay is you're done from there.
Yeah, it's basically over at like 8-9 minutes, and I just kind of stay in the game to see if I can come back, because you might as well try and get the LP, or the ladder points.
Yep.
But yeah, this game is pretty done.
Okay, so I mean, I'm happy for us to just keep talking theory. I don't think we really need to play customs. I think talking is actually one of the better ways. So we were already coming up with lots of good points here. So do we want to talk about TvP a little? Do we have you had another replay? So let's, I guess, are you going to be dedicating to really focusing on mech? I feel like in TvP especially, one of your big problems has been sensing where you are in the game, because you're playing Protosses who are playing vastly different games, and you mentioned this in your initial. Yeah.
I think it'd be nice to know mech, but like I'm not like it's not a necessity.
Yeah. You know, and if you're not like, I need to fucking learn mech, I want to do it, because it's an endeavor, and it's so many minute details. It's also, your games are going to be really long when you're playing, so that's part of why it's such a commitment. Say what?
I don't actually mind playing long games. I feel like the longer the game goes, the higher my chance of winning is, because I feel like I'm actually really good at the late game. Yeah,
sure. I mean, it's something where, yeah, from what you said though, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like with Bio you can play late game as well now. It's really up to you though. It's just what. So is this replay just the 3 Hellion opening that we talked about, or?
Yeah. So actually, let me just quickly check.
And is it the current patch or old one?
Yeah, it should be the current patch. So if I think like, yeah. So what I do is I go for like the 3 Hellion opening with 8 Marine drop. I do stuff. I think we go out even. And then he kind of just like kills me after I try. So I try to go into like the 2 Raxes behind the mineral line, and I go for a big push, and he deflects it, and then he kind of walks across the map and then kills me.
So you're doing a single engineering bay 5 racks 2 base push, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like no add-ons on the 4th and 5th racks, I imagine.
No, I think that my execution of the thing was probably not so great, so we can go over that.
Okay.
And, cool. I remember how this game goes. So he attacks my 3rd for most of the game, and then he goes on to attack my 4th, because I get that too. But yeah, it was kind of just barely hanging on, trying to see if he'd mess up, and eventually it just has enough money to break me over.
Okay, let's just write some notes as we go through this replay. First tip, so TvP. Don't build your factory where you built your factory in this replay, okay? Hide it. Because you could be going 3 racks, and you should keep them guessing. There's just no reason to give them that info. It's not the most game-changing thing in the world, but it's just a good habit. Put factory out of sight.
Oh, what server? Because like we could watch the replay in the same lobby.
So yes, we can. All right, quit. NA. That's a good point. I'll help out. Sorry. Chat channel Piggy. Piggy or Pig2, pig number 2, one word. You should see me in either of those chat channels. Shoot me an invite when you see me. There we are. I'll make you the party leader. You can host that up, and then just make me the lobby host once we're in there. That should be sweet as. Awesome.
Oh wait, that's lobby host.
Yeah, you got me. I think you made me the host as well, but that's fine. I got lobby host. I love Twitch chat. Who's the best Protoss player? And chat's immediate response is M. Canning. I agree. The man who raises the American flag. I agree.
I immediately started going to like Tempest Disruptor, right?
Tempest Disruptor OP, man.
Oh, and Storm. Like, remember like when the patch came out, like that changed disruptors back to like the ones where they didn't explode on impact. Like it was M Canning that was immediately going into like the Tempest Disruptor Storm. I think there was another unit that made it complicated.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even need Storm, kind of. Like, you could kind of, like, if you got Momentum, it was just like, oh, I just need, like, Stalkers and Disruptors, and then add a few Tempests, and it's just like, the Tempests are like, hey, dickhead. Because Tempests don't really do much, right? They're just there to piss people off into taking bad fights. So anyway, factory further back. Your bunker was down very early. Let's take a look-see here. Did we need it that early? Let's double check.
Think I actually did. I think I watched Yuseng's video on like, what is it, like knowing when to get the bunker. I think it's like the supply depot SCV builds the bunker against Cyber first, and then you just build the bunker at like 230 against Nexus first.
Yeah, and you see immediately, oh, that's Nexus before core, so you should...
I think I mis-scouted as Cyber first, so like I'm still getting used to scouting that.
Especially on the new maps, your timing sense will be off, so that makes sense. That's fine. I mean, that's a mistake that happens, but if you're going Hellions, even versus Cyber Force at first, I never build a bunker at the moment. And don't get me wrong, Parting will kill me the next time I play, because he's got godlike micro, but I actually, if it's a smaller map, I just bring the Reaper home. I'll break that rule on Submarine, don't get me wrong. Submarine's tiny. But like this map, fuck that, man. You're building, as long as you get your reactor immediately after the Marine, start Marines right away, start that Hellion straight away. A Reaper 3 Marines in a Hellion, you jump on that first gateway unit and you're going to be killing it. The second gateway unit will get there, but you're going to kill them both. And then let's see them defend your, even if it's only 2 Hellions and a Reaper and 6 Marines in the medevac. They've got no gateway.
That's really nice. I like skipping the bunker.
Yeah, so big maps in general, especially, I mean, you just don't need a bunker if it's a Nexus build. Because like, right now, even if a Stalker comes up.
I don't have to figure this. He probably commits to the Stalker and then I just kill it with the Hellion.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, Hellion, especially you can bring your Reaper back if need be as well. So part of the strength of the Hellion opening and why it gives me so much comfort is that, right? That's why I'm like, oh, if they overcommit, this is amazing. So skip
immediately.
Skip bunker if Nexus before core, and I would advise try skipping bunker completely on bigger maps also. But see how you feel with it, right? You got to be very tight on, like I said, reactor timing. Right after the Marine. Immediate Marines when the reactor finishes. Immediate Hellion when the factory finishes. And it's kind of good because it reinforces you just being very tight in your opening. But if you play against a lot of people who are like, I'm going 13 gate and chrono boosting Stalkers across the map, like, well, fuck, you're going to get punished, aren't you? So that's something, by the way. Are you familiar with 13 gate? Do you know what that is?
13 gate? It's not... No, I have no idea.
So... do you know what time a Protoss normally builds their gateway with a normal build? Supply.
It should be like pylon, right?
Yep. So what's supply?
15? 16?
Yeah, 16. Same as the barracks, right? Same sort of opening. So if they go 13, and that's the same as you going proxy 13 racks, right? That shit's... oh, you fucking... oh, okay. You're building a depot on 12? You know? Not 14? Think about it. They're hitting you as hard and fast as they can with their early adepts and stuff. So... like I saw Showtime do that the other day on Zen. You know, it's basically just, hey, I'm going to get these units out so quick. I'm going to try and delay a command center, put on that aggression earlier. So one of the mistakes people make is they just never actually consult the replay and they go, well, it looks like the adept can just get there. The Hellion's not out, the Marines aren't out, I can't skip the bunker. What the fuck is Pig saying? And I'm like, oh, motherfucker, this guy skipped 3 probes in the early game. Come on, like, you know, when you get in there, you can scout that. And what the tell is their cybercore is fucking early when your SCV gets in. And don't get me wrong, this is so rare, you will not notice this sometimes because you haven't seen it. But as long as you have the mental awareness now that this is a thing, that you can look at the replay and go, whoa, why was this so fast? And go, oh shit. And then double check, okay, all right, I can see it now. The core was already done when my SCV went in, whereas normally that core's only 3/4 of the way done. Oh, okay, shit. You know, so it's just one of those things. Put a little bit of context in. I'm going to put a little note there. Just be aware that 12 pylon, 13 gate, very fast harass is a thing. And that should be good. Cool. All right, so in this game, we missed out. We built a bunker, which slows down our build, right? But then we also, I think, lose a Hellion, killing his Stalker that pokes us.
Quite a bit of mistakes this game.
Sorry, say again?
Quite a bit of mistakes this game that add up to, like, not doing so well with harass. So, like, yeah, losing a Hellion was really bad because I missed a lot of probe kills because of it. And I think the drop was also good as well. Like, I think I mismicroed it a bit. And the opening itself, I think my reactor was a bit late or something. Something felt late off on this game. Like, I felt like I didn't do the build correctly. But, so, I think, like, going into the mid game, I was kind of, like, behind. But I wasn't really able to, like, get a foothold in the game because, I don't know, it might have been something.
You should have killed 25 probes with the Hellions, right? Like, this should have been a game winner if you microed those.
I had another Hellion if I microed them a bit better. Yeah, because the Hellion gets stuck. And
well, if you microed them at all, yeah. So basically, you clicked them in and you didn't click on them at all past that. Watch from your camera. So if we watch on your camera, we'll fast forward a little and we'll slow it down. So on your camera, you throw down your third barracks. Hellions are going in. We pull them back. We click them in. We click them in. And then we Q an A move. Now our Marines, we're going to pull back. Good pullback. We looked at them a little bit too long there, though, right? That should have been a little bit quicker to rotate back. Now we micro the Hellion, but man, look at how many kills it gets. Imagine if we had 2 or 3. Holy shit, dude. And this was still fine damage. I don't think you're behind at all. So I think there's so many things you could improve. But this is the thing. You're still ahead. You're up in SCVs by 4 right now. You got a Liberator that can follow this up. You got 3 barracks up. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, you get the Observer. You're way ahead. You're in an amazing spot.
So when do the extra reactors go down? Do they go down about now? Because I think that I don't put them down for like too long or something.
Well, it's just whenever you have the money. Now, like, I would never get the 4th gas here, probably, personally. But it's up to you. It kind of depends how things time out. You're kind of just chilling over there with your medevac. You, like, showed it at the 3rd, and you're chilling there. Your lib's just sitting at home. So your follow-up's a little bit dicey, but as long as you keep these units alive, I'm still thinking, hey, you should absolutely win. So maybe we take too long to push. Now, he's going charge, which is good. +1 armor, single forge. So if your opponent just stops probing now, 3 base minerals, and just masses zealots, I mean, he can do very nice, right? Where if we take a bad first fight, that's going to be bad for us. But if we just keep up our marine production and then don't get fucked up in the engage, like we don't mess that engage too badly, we'll be great. It's a real funny depot wall, by the way.
Yeah, I think I'm still a bit not quite used to the depot walls on the new maps or something. I might have also thought that it was a blink thing, so whenever I see blink, I don't build walls that far away from my bunker because the stock pick them off.
Yeah, so, and that's the advantage of not having a bunker in the early game as well, actually.
The bunker will kind of like... Oh, I almost goofed this so much. I don't know why the Marines were behind.
Yeah, so I mean, we've already had a stim baited out. We've only got 2 medevacs here for some reason. And our tanks aren't really sieging in the most, the greatest position. We're like letting him flank us right now. We're like setting our bio up in not a great position. We're setting it up for a perfect flank. Whereas what we should have done there is we should have been moving the tanks only 1 or 2 at a time. And we should have been chasing one part of his army there a little bit more. So if you stimmed onto his 3rd base, you could have killed all those zealots before he brings the other half in. Or you stimmed on this, likewise, same thing. Where if you're like too tentative like this, you kind of like just give him time to set up his flank, right? And you give him time, and then you're also unsieging all of your tanks. We also aren't rallied across the map, and we didn't pull SCVs. We also way overbuilt SCVs and went a 3rd command center. So what I'm looking at is, hey, are we doing a 2 base all in, or are we not?
Alright, and it's a bit of half and half, and it's not.
Yeah. Imagine if you got 15 SCVs in front of this. He's dead.
Yeah.
Imagine if you built three SCVs and you were building bunkers with this, and you were a bit more conservative with your tank position. Some of them were still in the low ground.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, if we go like back 5 seconds, what would be like the proper unit positioning here? So if I think about it now, I think what I want to do is like just push the tanks up a bit more slowly, and then when I see this army's kind of cut off, I can just kind of like stim down this army over here.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously dangerous stimming the army down. So as much as I'm encouraging you to do that, it's like,
well, you gotta have like a feeling for it.
You gotta have a feeling for it. Yes, it's like it's not like, oh, just chase half the army and get yourself surrounded. Like they do it really well, right? But I mean, I'm kind of looking at it and going, well, we should be rallied across the map. This is a real committed push, right? We should be like holding down that marine key like crazy. So the thing is, like, often the rally is what tilts the scales and wins you the game. Let's go back a minute earlier, because I'm looking at this and I'm looking at your map and I'm going, wait, where's our bio? So even now, at this point in this game, so we're building missile turrets, and we're adding add-ons on our 4th and 5th barracks, and a 3rd CC. You gotta watch more U-thermal games, mate. Get inspired by the ability to just fucking go, I'm all in. He's got such committed pushes against Protoss, and he's so successful against Protoss. U-thermal's so good, and his pushes are so nice.
Probably not so good to be scared. If you're going for like a big push, it's probably not a good idea to be like scared or hesitant.
I mean, it's just something where you've got to commit all your eggs in one basket. You can't set up for a 2-base push like this. You also slowed your tanks down getting out because of your weird wall off. Your tanks couldn't get past the bunker. They had to go through the mineral lane. But you're overbuilding SCVs. You should have stopped at like 40 SCVs, right? Slightly under saturation, if anything, not over saturation by 10 SCVs. So you could just have had so much more stuff in this push, or be hitting a bit faster or whatever. And you've got a great Marine count, and Marines are your most important units here, right? But then we end up using a stim because our army's disjointed. Remember that ZVT, stimming before the fight really happens? And with only 2 medevacs, that's our whole army taking damage. We literally just took 20% of the hit points off your whole bio ball for free. Yeah. So the important thing here is to be really decisive. So if we're doing a 2-base push, what do you like? Do you like pulling 5-6 SCVs, building bunkers, doing it nice and slow? Do you like to pull 20 boys and just punch them in the face? Because even with 20 SCVs, I will still be building SCVs behind that sometimes. So it's actually not all in. It's obviously crazily committed. But like if I've got the money, I'm like, oh, I could actually be building SCVs behind this just because I'm already maxing my unit production potentially with mules and whatever. But what do you prefer?
I tend to pull 4. I'm not sure why. I just find that 4 and then I slap down bunkers.
Okay, so you're going to cut at 44 SCVs max at home, first of all, right? That's going to give us a lot more minerals, more production earlier getting out here, right? We are going to rally across the map. We are going to non-stop unit production, right? No 3rd CC or anything like that. Fuck that shit. You said 4? I don't like 4. So I'm saying like we want to commit harder. So what are you liking here? I mean, that's just too few to really do anything. Yeah.
All the SCVs that are minerals.
All the SCVs that are mining minerals, did you say? Yeah.
You just box them and then you click them and they're
on your natural? Sorry, what are you saying? Like you keep cutting out. I'm not sure if you're on push to talk or not, but it's just cutting out a little.
I would definitely just like grab all the SCVs, like at mining minerals at the natural, maybe even mining gas, because I can just box them and then add them to the control group and then I just go.
Cool.
That's like,
yeah.
That's really
I actually even put them on a different control group even. Let me see. You've got your tanks on a different control group, so I probably wouldn't for you. Because I still like 2 control groups. I'm lazy and I just put my tanks on the same one. Yeah. I mean, as long as you just don't obviously run them too far in front and get them all killed. We do see sometimes people just throw away their SCVs in the most useless part of the fight while their army's force fielded or something. Grab all natural SCVs and commit to the push. So if you commit to the push, shoving in hard is the way to go here. Your tanks could be just as aggressive or even more aggressive than you siege them. Watch this. Remember, we were quite conservative. Fuck that first siege. You would right now be stimming after this bottom army, no fucks given, and your tanks would just be like walking along with it, maybe, or something like that.
And I could like, if the tanks were walking up, they could be like kind of like in the middle of the rocks. I could even like, once I chase out this army, I could even put them like below the rocks.
Oh yeah.
Like a really...
Yeah, exactly. A beautiful position there. And the thing is, like, you always want to scan ahead as well. So one of the problems here, you didn't scan ahead, did you? You had no idea what you're pushing into.
I have energy to scan.
Yeah, well, you always should. That's a rule with a 2-base push. It's save energy as you move out and scan as you arrive. So important to know what you're going into, right? Because sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, I gotta fucking go. You know, just stim in there, no fucks given. You're like, oh, he's like warping in High Templar right now. His storm's probably not done. We got to go right now. Like, let's just fucking get in there, right? You see like a Colossus and a few sentries, and you're like, just fucking jump in it. There's no zealots anywhere. And other times you see mass zealot, and you've got to be much more conservative, right? You got to be really careful with the angle you take.
Okay. I mean, even though the fight is like botched already because of like the bad position, it still technically goes fine, or like not fine, but like it goes even.
Which is not good for you, though, because you went in the 4th and 5th racks. I mean, you can still play from here, don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those things where if we had more units rallying, this is game. You know, he's got...
It goes to show that, like, all I needed was, like, if I just had the better position, this game would just definitely have been over.
Exactly. So if you were rallying units as well, you should always queue up extra units. There should be a thing where it's as you get close to their base, you're queuing up a ton of extra units on your production, you're rallying it across the map, and you're scanning ahead, right? And that's like, and then you're just like, focus on this fight. This is everything. So if you did just one or two of those things, yes, you would have done a lot better here. But we should have been 100% winning the game because you were way ahead off the opening. Even though it was just that one Hellion, he lost so much mining time in his main. And then, you know, even though we completely forgot to fly our lib across the map, and then our drop almost got itself killed. Whereas if what we'd done, if we just left our drop on the edge, and then that lib came in, lib siege is up the back of the natural or the third, and then the drop goes back into the main, you probably would have done even more follow-up damage, and it would have been even more one-sided when your push came in.
I think I know Protoss is on ladder that would have just left the game.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So the problem here is now you're rallying, you're building siege tanks versus a charge lot player, which is fucking trash, right? So if your first push doesn't go well and you commit to this sort of tank push, you're in a very disadvantageous position because now you don't have Widow Mine production. You need to get that factory on a reactor ASAP. But now he's already got Colossus, which is the answer to the mines and the Marines. So he's just 2 steps ahead of you on tech. So obviously we also trickled in and started taking a few worse fights in a row there. But it's just one of those things where if we're committing to this push, we need to put a lot of emphasis on this push working and doing damage.
At this point, the majority of the game is him just like running into me and me barely trying to stay alive. In terms of like learning like the early game, mid game, this is probably like a good point to stop.
Oh, absolutely.
But
yeah, for sure.
At like high speed.
Yeah, we can just take a glance. I mean,
Pretty bad for me. I try to come back. He denies me pretty well. Well, actually, I think I got somewhat close to coming back. It's slaughter.
I mean, your upgrades are way better, but he's got actual economy and splash damage and stuff, and yeah.
I hit base and I'm like barely holding on to a 4th base here. Oh, I actually saved the planetary here. I think what ends up killing me is he stops going for like these big frontal pushes, and he starts doing the charge slot run-bys, and it just kind of breaks me because I don't actually have enough units to deal with the frontal push and the charge slots.
You just tried to doom drop on Colossus there when there were zealots underneath. Very good if those were sentries. Those were zealots.
I'm hoping you would pay attention.
Yeah. No, I mean you're pretty. I mean okay. So in this game, I probably wouldn't have focused on the 3-3, but it's such a minor point.
Yeah, this point of the game is very, very hard to come back to.
Yeah, I mean it's important to get. I always build a turret like out front my third because notice he keeps replacing that observer. You scanned it a few times, but he kept replacing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like you've got one out front, your natural, which kind of does the same thing, but one out front the third or can be nice.
Now the charge slots are like really messing me over because I don't actually have the units to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like I actually have enough units to like hold in front, but
yeah, I mean all you're doing is just hoping he fucks up really, really, really badly. Like you don't even have a wall off on your natural. You don't have enough units to deal with anything. So I mean, at any point, a prism could have rotated into your main. At any point, more zealots could have hit your natural. Like you were dead from your first push starting. So this is very empowering because you did a 2-base all in, but you didn't commit properly to it, right? You were umming and ahhing a little bit. You were kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna build units as I'm moving out. It's just these units. You did it like it was a macro timing, right? Where you're like, I'm gonna add add-ons, 2nd eBay, 3rd CC. Like like you're gonna focus more on powering behind that push, because you're not worried about reinforcing. And if you're doing like a sharp macro pressure, that makes sense. So you're like, oh yeah, so like this is there to slow my opponent down, but it's more about the next step and all that sort of stuff. So if you just actually commit to that 5 racks push, it's going to be way more powerful. Yeah. And we already looked at the opening and said, hey, wait a second, your opening could have been better. Wait, you got a head off this opening? And there's like 4 things you could have done better. Oh, that's fucking awesome.
That's actually working on definitely be able to do a whole lot better. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Hellion, the fact that you microed that last Hellion, I was like, oh, they're going to do nothing. And then like the one Hellion on like red hit points kills like 8 probes. He's still not mining in his main. You got the medevac out. I think there's like a real power to this, building the Hellions and the Marines, and especially once you get a bit more comfortable with skipping that bunker in some games. Because as you said, they see no bunker. Protoss gets excited, runs in. You're like, oh, I will kill that Stalker. Even one less Stalker when you're doing that drop in that Hellion attack. Oh my god, it's so good, man.
All right, so that's a lot of info. Thank you very much.
No worries, man. Yeah, I think this should be awesome. Lots of different things we talked about. Yeah, ZVT looked pretty solid, but just like those little things of like, oh, it's a Lair boy, like putting marine spotters out and just forming a habit of that, you know, realizing this guy is the one who needs to make the play, not me, right? You know, if you do start doing more of a 3-base transition off the Hellion opening rather than committing to the 5 Rex, you know, there'll be a lot of the same thing. So if you start doing more 3cc play against Protoss, just be looking for that. Oh, am I pushing out into a guy who has +1 attack when I'm on 2-2 and is just like waiting with 100 zealots? Wait a second, why am I not waiting till max against a guy whose whole army is Zealot Archon? And if I just wait for a bunch of ghosts with Radius of the Sun upgrade on their EMP and a maxed out bio army, like that, he will kill nothing in the fight, you know? Because I've thrown so many games doing that. I'm like, well, I've got a big army. I'm on 2-2 versus +1 attack. I should go. And it's like, no, this guy's on Mass's Zealot. His army is like milk. It's like milk left out of the fridge, man. It's gonna hit its expiry date. All you got to do is not fucking drink the milk. Just don't drink the milk until you got a big enough army, and you'll be fine, man.
All right. Very helpful. Thank you very much.
Awesome sauce. All right, mate. Well, good night, and yeah, hit me up whenever you want to set up another one, dude.
You bet. See you later.
Laters, man.